pleased to have back on the program with us Carl Higbie. He is conservative founder and president of the George Washington Leadership Foundation, a former Navy SEAL, the author of Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, A SEAL's Story. His website is gwleadershipfoundation.com. Carl, welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. I appreciate the plug you gave me.
You're welcome. I appreciate you joining us. So I understand that you are a big supporter of Donald Trump.
That is the truth.
Okay, let's just go through some policy stuff, if you don't mind. I'm getting very, very bored with these. Did he commit a gaffe? Did he say something stupid? Did he, with this coverage? I'd really like to talk about the issues. Is that all right with you?
Sure.
Okay. I've got the 1980 Libertarian Party platform here because it's pretty tight and straightforward. It's essentially the same as today's Libertarian Party platform, and at least 3/4 of this stuff is in the Republican Party platform. So let me just go through some of these things, and we can choose to debate them, or simply, I just would like to find out where you're at and where you think, most Republican supporters of Donald Trump are at. The first, we urge the repeal of federal campaign finance laws and the immediate abolition of the despotic Federal Election Commission. You down with that?
So here's the thing: I actually agree with a lot of libertarian principles. I think the political shift to the left on both parties is something that's plagued us. And since the decision of Citizens United with the super PACs and everything like that, I think we as a society have just become too the political process has become too riddled with laws, regulations, insiders, trading, things like that. So, I mean, to be honest, I'd love to get rid of the IRS too. It's not going to happen.
Okay, but the answer to that is, because I've got about 20 of these things here. The answer is yes. You think that we should do away with federal campaign finance laws. We favor the abolition of Medicare and Medicaid programs. Do you think Donald Trump favors abolishing Medicare and Medicaid and just turning it all over to the private marketplace?
No, not at all.
Okay. We oppose any compulsory insurance or tax-supported plan to provide health services, including, basically that's, I suppose, Obamacare.
So I'm not in favor of the forced mandate of Obamacare. I do think that some sort of incentive, like being able to deduct your insurance payments and your insurance deductibles on your tax returns. I'm a big fan of that, but I think insurance should largely be privatized.
What if you're part of Mitt Romney's 47% who earns so little in this wonderful American economy that you don't pay any taxes, so you therefore can't use a deduction?
Well, they'd actually be better off because the median income since 2008 has gone down $4,000, and also our insurance premiums have almost doubled since Obamacare was passed. So they would have been better off under a privatized system, I think.
So, so do away with Obamacare. We favor the deregulation of the medical insurance industry. You want to let the health insurance companies just do whatever they want?
There needs to be some mild form of regulation, but I'm not well-versed enough to say which ones should be placed and which ones should be taken away.
Okay. We favor the repeal of the fraudulent, virtually bankrupt, and increasingly oppressive Social Security system. Pending that repeal, participation in Social Security should be made voluntary.
I think Social Security should be made voluntary. I think that the problem is you have the government spending it away on things that are unrelated to Social Security. It's not going to be there for me.
How so?
Oh, well, I mean, the money in the Social Security account is basically out on loans, on a $19 trillion debt that we might not ever be able to pay back.
So you think that the treasuries, like George Bush was born with in his trust fund, are not a good investment? Because that's what the Social Security Trust Fund is. It's invested in treasuries right now, $2.5 trillion of it.
I actually don't think. I think that right now that all the money that was in the Social Security account has been used for other things, and there is a note, an IOU in that account.
Right. It's called a treasury bill. It's actually a series of them. It's $2.5 trillion worth. So you're saying that you don't believe that the United States, that the full faith and credit of the United States is viable. That people who own our bonds, whether it's you and me in our retirement accounts, or whether it's China or Saudi Arabia, are just suckers.
I am seriously concerned that it won't be there for me. I'll say that.
Okay. All right. We propose abolition of the governmental postal service.
No. Keep the postal service. I think right now you have like 5 post offices in one town. Make it one, and if you brought someone like Mitt Romney in to run it, like any type of VC firm, they would.
Well, that's what they're suggesting is privatize it. The present system, in addition to being inefficient, encourages governmental surveillance of private correspondence. Pending abolition, we call for an end to the monopoly system and allowing free competition in all aspects of postal service.
Well, there is free competition with many companies, and they do very, very well. So I think the subsidies that the post office receives keeps our postal costs down, even though it has gone up significantly.
We don't subsidize the post office. The postal service gets no government subsidies. It's 100% funded by the cost of postage.
That's not. I don't believe that's accurate.
I can tell you with absolute certainty that that's accurate, and it has been for decades.
Okay, I can.
That was a law that Reagan passed, actually requiring that.
Okay, well, I can tell you with absolute certainty. I watched a documentary on Fox News the other day that said that it was the post office were subsidized.
I see. Okay. Well, if Fox says it, it must be right. We oppose all personal and corporate income taxation, including capital gains taxes.
Sorry, say that one more time, Tom?
We oppose all personal and corporate income taxation, including capital gains taxes.
I would love to agree with that, but the fact is you have to, in order to maintain any functional government, you do need to tax. I think capital gains, or it's okay to tax capital gains because it is a gain based on money that you've invested in the market.
You think capital gains should be taxed at the same rate as ordinary income? I mean, right now we've got a system where I work with my mind. The guy out in front who is digging up the road, he works with his body. Both of us pay income taxes, which could be as high as almost 40%. Whereas the guy around the corner on K Street who's running a hedge fund, he's paying a maximum 15% income tax because he's being taxed at the capital gains rate because he's making money with money instead of with his body or his mind. Do you think that's a problem?
Well, someone had to earn that money and pay taxes based on the income tax.
That's true also of the money that I spent building this business.
So I think that what they should do is they should bring all taxes down to the same rate as capital gains now. I think that's fair. What's wrong with that? Well,
yeah, Reagan did that for 1 year. He actually had the capital gains tax rate and the ordinary income rate at 28%. I think the year was 86, and but that only lasted 1 year. Okay, we support the eventual repeal of all taxation. Pending that, all criminal and civil sanctions against tax evasion should be terminated immediately. We just talked about taxes. Okay, we support repeal of the minimum wage laws. Okay, what do you think, and what do you think Donald Trump thinks about this?
Well, Donald Trump has actually controversially said that he thinks the minimum wage should be higher. This is where I part ways with him. I think you should not have a minimum wage. I think the fact of the matter is a minimum wage like we have here in Connecticut went up to $10.10, and McDonald's replaced a number of its employees, a good percentage of them, with LCD screens. It's not the employee's fault. It's not the employer's fault. It's a mathematical.
Well, that's technology. They would have done that even if the minimum wage was $3 an hour. An LED screen is still cheaper than a person.
Sometimes, but the cost to replace it becomes only effective when.
Well, how does McDonald's make a living in Denmark, where the minimum wage is like $17 an hour?
I've never been to Denmark, so I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
But I will say that the economy should drive the minimum wage, and if you have more jobs in the economy with less regulation, you're going to get more growth, and that way people will pay more to have the people because there'll be more jobs.
How does less regulation? If you say to the Koch brothers, your Georgia Pacific plant, which is pumping poison out into the oceans, we're going to stop the regulating it so you can pump even more poisons into the oceans. You can lay off those guys who are running the scrubber machines. You can fire the company that is designing and building them. How does that lead to more jobs?
Well, I'm not calling for slashing all regulations, but I used to own a tree service. For instance, I paid almost $40,000 a year just to comply with OSHA regulations, none of which kept any of my workers safer. In fact, endangered them more.
Okay.
So,
all right, I'm getting your worldview here. Carl Higbie. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much, Tom.
GWLeadershipFoundation.com is Carl's website.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.